Yes, Honorable Senators, I rise today to speak to Bill S-222, the Effective and Accountability Charities Act. I thank Senator Omnivar for introducing this bill. While I will try not to repeat much of what Senator Omnivar has said, I would like to offer some thoughts of my own. The introduction of this bill clearly demonstrates the outdated, complex, and costly rules and regulations that prevent great works of charity, not only in Canada, but around the world on behalf of Canadians. As we saw in our report from the Special Committee on the Charitable Sector, this is but one of the many issues that needs to be fixed. What will this bill's proposed changes do to help the sector? The bill amends the Income Tax Act to permit charities to provide their resources to a person who is not a qualified donee, provided that they take reasonable steps to ensure those resources are used exclusively for a charitable purpose. The charities currently use their resources to fund projects that they support through their charitable purpose. But what if they want to fund a similar project with an organization that does not have charitable status in Canada or in another country? They can't. But the direction and control provisions of the Income Tax Act specifically lays out the control the registered charity must have over that project for it to meet the proposed the purpose and requirements of the law. This was at one time intended to protect the donor's money and integrity of the charity. It is now untenable for many small groups to comply. As a result, there are unfortunate limits on the great works of charity many of them want to accomplish. As Senator Omnivar rightly laid out, in the partnership process is overrun with problems. Our report stated, according to, and I quote, according to stakeholders demonstrating the direction and control in such partnerships involves complex written agreements and onus reporting requirements which engender unnecessary administrative costs. The report went on to say, in the view of the Canadian Bar Association, the CRA's guide control could be relaxed without falling foul of statutory requirements. Senator Omnivar reviewed some examples of how this regime is hurting the smaller organizations who want to do similar works with a larger recognized charity wants to help them do. My question is is also how it makes any sense for charity A to fund a project by by organization B, which could be hundreds of kilometers away or across the globe, if they must exercise complete control over the project. Who is on the ground? Who understands the needs of the community when it comes to being funded? That's right, the organization. So, if they share the similar charitable purpose, how can we make it easier for a charity and an organization to accomplish their goals? Adam Apto-Itzer, lawyer to charities and nonprofits with Trace Apto-Itzer LLP, noted in his testimony before the committee, and I quote, "I'm not in favor of the control and direction test as my colleagues suggest. In some cases, it's a bit of a farce to suggest that Canadian involvement in an international project at a minority level should have control over the project. It is simply unworkable in many circumstances, and is certainly offensive in many circumstances, and it doesn't do Canada any favors," end quote. He goes on to say about direction and control, whatever test does replace it, as I hope this committee will suggest, does both accentuate the idea that Canadians are accountable for spending of funds, but also portrays to the Canadian government that the funds are being spent as they were originally intended, end quote. I believe this is what this bill is trying to do. Witnesses at our committee suggested different approaches to improve the situation. For example, Kevin Perkins, Executive Director of Farm Radio International, said this, and I quote, "My feeling is that rather than putting the expectation on direction and control of the daily spending decisions or activities that intermediaries do, we should be putting more emphasis on due diligence, monitoring, and assurance sides of things." He went on to say, that includes making sure there is a system to monitor and ensure that the partner is doing what it said it would do and using the money the way it said it would use it, and putting more emphasis on the due diligence, but also more flexibility in terms of allowing the partner to make more decisions about the priorities for that community. Honourable Senators, I couldn't agree more. Some witnesses use the United States model as an example of a system of due diligence. As Senator Omnivar noted, their model uses the language expenditure responsibility, while her bill proposes resource accountability. Both similar approaches that would ensure oversight but withdraw the burden of directions and control. This bill's approach may indeed solve the dilemma charities face. If a charity can take reasonable steps to ensure that the resources are being put to good use, and as long as the charitable purpose of the charity is in turn being followed, this legislative change would allow charities to expand their reach. Excuse me. And to help them do what they do so well, accomplish the greater good across Canada and around the world. Everyone is held to accountable, and the delivery of services remains trustworthy. I look forward to seeing this bill move to committee, where senators can further explore what the bill intends to do and how effective it can be. I invite you to read our special committee's report as well. As Senator Omnivar and I wrote in a recent op-ed, charities and nonprofits have been one of the hardest hit sectors by the COVID-19 pandemic. I cannot underscore enough just how much Canadians have relied on charities during this time. Their services are going to be needed more than ever in the post-pandemic period. Let's see what we can do to help them be at their best, and operate as efficiently as possible to maximize the benefits to all Canadians. Thank you, Honourable Senators.